Hey everybody, your dad here. Before the episode, I wanted to talk about our Patreon, patreon.com/hell of a way to die. You're going to find all of our bonus stuff there, of course, as we've always been doing. However, in the recent months, I've been doing raffles, so anybody at the $3 up level will be automatically entered into monthly raffles and free giveaways. There's exclusive videos, and if you sign up even at the free level, you will get a Monday update with some of the goings on and everything that's happening. This week at the $5 level, we have our bonus episode of Fight Club with myself and Nate. We're going to be doing some more of those in the coming months too. So please consider patreon.com/hell of a way to die. Make sure that your dads can stay up on their beer and weed.
Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. Glory, glory, what a hell of a way to die. He ain't gonna jump.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Dad. It is Francis and Nate back on the dad mics here. Nate, we finally had here in St. Louis that moment that I've been looking for, which is where you get to stand looking out of a window as it rains and say, we needed this. We needed this. It's been a bit dry here. Been a bit dry the last couple of weeks.
We had some pretty obviously intense heat in the summer, and then it broke for a while, then it came back again in August. It eventually broke in the tail end of August. It's been okay lately, but randomly we got beautiful, unbelievably nice August or autumn weather. And then on Saturday it was like 83 Fahrenheit, which pretty uncommon for this time of year. And then cold front moved in and it's just been shit. Just unbroken, rainy, cold. We got a little helpful email to all parents at the daycare about like, just make sure you got like rain gear for your kids, because they also had seen the forecast. It's just rain, right. Mega rain, and a lot colder. It's like it's probably in like the mid to high 50s now compared to the 80s a couple of days ago.
Right.
I think in Celsius now, but it's like today is like high of 13 and low of 3, which compared to high of 28 and low of I think it was 13 or 14 on Saturday. Yeah, like completely different.
Yeah, I was wondering, you're wearing the sweater today. It's a little
I'm a little chilly in
and
the house. Well, I was cleaning up in the kitchen and there's this degreaser cleaner that I have that's pretty good, but it's just like you wouldn't think this would be the case. You'd think America would be like industrial chemical hell, but this degreaser cleaner, like the smell lingers a while. So I opened up some windows to get like some breeze and, clear this place out a bit. And yeah, then I was like, Cynthia got me this like last year. It's kind of like a zip, not quite a cardigan, but it's like a zip up sweater. And I was like, yeah, perfect. Throw this thing on. It's like walk-in bathrobe.
They don't have Simple Green there in Switzerland.
I have never seen Simple Green outside of America. I actually kind of wanted it for some cleanup at the studio in London. And no, I mean, the only place I could find it was like weird Amazon resellers that did not look legit. So
right, I think it feels like one of those things you only see in the military, and so if somebody is selling it, it's kind of like a CSM that delivers pizzas because he's got like 3 alimony payments. It's just like a guy who's swiping stuff from the army to sell it on eBay.
I mean, I used to buy it in America, like outside of the army. Yeah, you can definitely buy it outside of buy it like at the grocery store or whatever. But like I've never seen it outside of the United States though, and I did actually look, because you can get, for example, Goo Gone. You can get Goo Gone in Britain. I got it to clean off a bunch of like old adhesive from a wall and stuff like that you can find. But yeah, Simple Green, I guess, just doesn't have any purchase. There's not enough, vet bros for whom the smell brings back, the smell induced memories, smelleries, if you will.
It's the only thing that'll properly kill black mold is Simple Green and industrial brown paper towels. It's the fight that we have against. That's what kills chemicals. Like don't drink the ivermectin. Drink the
Simple
maybe
Green. That's the reason why, if it actually gets rid of black mold, that's why they can't sell it in Britain, because then people would realize you need to flood the entire country with it and wrap it up in paper towels like a mummy.
I have to walk around spraying it on random British people. So I'm coming down off of a cold. I was recently in Orlando, the land of gators. I went to the Halloween Horror Nights at Universal to do some spooky. I don't. How into Halloween are you, Nate? It's coming up in a month. Has Halloween ever been a thing? Like it seems like some people really love Halloween. I never really got it.
When I was a kid, sure, but not now. No, I mean, if anything, I have lived either outside of America or in places in America where you don't have the phenomenon of kids trick-or-treating, because in New York, you kind of can't with all the apartment buildings anyway. And so actually kids trick or treat like they go to like the stores, like CVS, Walgreens, stuff like that will actually have candy for kids. The stores do it. Obviously that I'm sure that's different in the parts of New York City that are like townhousey residential. But like when I lived in Crown Heights, that was just simply not the case. Kids didn't come. A couple of times in London, which I didn't expect, kids started trick or treating and came to the house. And I remember one time like they rang the doorbell, there was trick or treat, and I was like, I am so sorry. I didn't know people did this here. I don't. It's like you can hear my voice. I didn't know people did this here. And then I
didn't know you could do about Halloween over here.
Well, a friend of mine, I wish they did an English version of this. A friend of mine here, he and his friend do for a long time did a YouTube series, really, really great, about like, it's kind of like about the history of religion and religious belief, but also what you call like historiography, like the study of history of that. And they did one about Halloween. Is Halloween actually a pagan tradition? Is it actually an old world tradition? Is it a thing? Or is it just this confected myth? And it was fascinating. And one of the points that they made was like, when people try to conjure up this idea of All Hallows Eve, they seemed unable to resist involving pumpkins somehow when conjuring up stuff in like, pagan Europe and Druid Europe. And it's like, they didn't have fucking pumpkins. That's a New World vegetable. The Columbian exchange hadn't happened.
Yeah, it's like going to the Ren Fair and getting a turkey leg and popcorn. It's like, what are these heathen grains and meats that you have here? You didn't know about these things. Turkeys don't exist.
They gave us the world's most powerful diet, and we gave them venereal disease.
I went because Universal's big thing is that they're the scary Halloween place. Like Disney is Mickey's not so scary Halloween, and actual Universal has the real Halloween. I always thought Halloween was a Christian holiday because it's All Hallows Eve. It's the eve of November 1st, which is All Saints Day, and like traditionally you would dress up as your favorite saints and wander around.
It probably is, but I think the spooky whatever stuff, I guess it's been kind of reinterpreted over the ages. I don't really know, but I think to me Halloween is like how we perceive it. I think has a pretty hardcore New World influence, but I don't really know that much about it. I mean, I did watch that video. It was a while ago, and my brain leaks like a sieve. So I would just say it might be, but I really don't know. It's one of those things where it's like Christmas wasn't a thing that was really celebrated the same, even in Christian tradition, until relatively recently. And if I'm not mistaken, now I might be really wrong, and listener, you may correct me because I love to just be Mr. Talks off the cuff here. However, I actually don't think that gift giving at Christmas, at least in the English speaking world, was a particularly observed phenomenon until the popularity of Charles Dickens's A Christmas Carol. It was celebrated. People went to church for it. There's obviously the kind of connotation or the association there that like there are so many pagan winter solstice holidays that Christmas, as Christianity developed, especially in Europe, in the early days, they kind of incorporated and sort of, like, to use the annoying grad school term, reified that into Christianity. But I think that it was like Easter was the big one, obviously.
Right.
Good Friday and Easter Sunday and stuff like that. And obviously, if you look back at medieval Christian history, there's like infinity fucking feast days and fast days and all this. You know what I mean? It's just like
love a celebration.
Wow, yeah. Brian Jakes didn't really have to draw that far, from like anything distant to conjure up that for Redwall. Just feasting nonstop, but then also not eating because you're supposed to fast because God wants you to be hungry too.
Yeah, you never want your feast day to fall in Lent, especially if you're like, hey, everybody have no, sorry, Lent time. Can't do that, boys. Yeah, I was raised Catholic, and my mother, being a very good Catholic as she is now, she would take me to church on Halloween, like, because it was like I had to go to church for like all the feast days, all the saint days, like the major ones. Like you don't have to go for like, oh, it's St. Francis of Assisi's Day. I don't have to do anything for that, but like all of the minor holidays, all of the minor feast days and stuff, for some reason I was still at church. I went to church a lot. My mom took and then I went to Catholic school, and you go to church a lot, like especially in grade school, because like they're like, how do we kill an hour of time with these kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning? Fuck it, we got a church here. We got church now. Yeah. You're gonna go to mass.
Well, I told you the story that for a couple of months I went to a Catholic school at the end of the school year when we moved back from Germany, and I'm not Catholic, but it was for the tail end of third grade, which is extremely about to do your first communion age.
Yeah.
So I was basically spent hours sitting at the back of the, church, cathedral, whatever the fuck you want to call it, where they have mass at, just not doing anything. Because I was like one of two non-Catholic kids in my class. So we just sat there. It's just like,
and you'd think that they'd be like, well, let's roll you into this. And, it's one of
we
three of the main
practiced for real. I
sacraments.
practiced for.
Okay.
They were like, if you want to practice, even though you're not going to take communion, I was like, sure, why not? I'll practice. I'll practice how you hand me the wafer. I'll practice drinking from the chalice. I'll do all that, whatever, you know. And then I think I've told this story on the show numerous times, but it's always funny that then I started at public school the next year for 4th grade, and I saw on the schedule blocking it was just who was going to be running like this study lab thing or something for 4th graders. But one of the teachers' names was Mrs. Mass, and I saw Mass on the calendar. I was like, fuck, God damn it. I thought I'd get away from this shit. And it's like, no, it's just someone's name. Her name was Mass. Actually, in retrospect, it was MAAS, like the Dutch name. I was 9. I just read it and I was like, that looks like something familiar.
Aw, look, it's your first bout of PTSD.
I didn't hate it. It was just boring. It was just boring. I'm not Catholic. I'm not even Christian. I don't care. And so it's just like, whatever.
Yeah, I had to go through a lot of it. And, I don't resent my time in Catholic churches, but certainly feel like my time could have been spent better. But also in Catholic churches where I read The Jungle. So, I not church itself, but when I was in Catholic school.
What, Upton Sinclair's The Jungle?
Yeah, we read The Jungle when I was in like 6th grade. And my teachers did not fully appreciate that it was a book about how great socialism is.
Yeah, because the last chapter is like fucking victory is ours, boys. Like, we're going to build socialism in America.
Right. Like, once we got through it all and we did all of the, the meatpacking plants are gross and
Lithuanian immigrants exploited for their naivete and their willingness to put up with hardship and sold horrible shit that kills you and mortgages that go bankrupt immediately and blankets that don't even keep you warm. Yeah, I remember that book.
Yeah. But, we didn't get in. At least I don't remember our teacher being like, and anyway, that's why socialism is the correct way of doing things. Now, again, this was, years ago, so maybe it kind of flew over my head. And I did have a propensity of not reading the assigned books in school and instead reading a Redwall book that I snuck in. Because if anything, I am on fucking brand, I guess.
I was the same way, man. I mean, my brother I don't even know how he got them. When you're that age, Chris would have been 10 or 11 when we were like around this time when we lived in Germany. It was the last year we lived in Germany, and like moss flower just showed up at our house, and there was an animal on it, and I was like, what's this about? And he described it, and I was like, okay, this sounds cool. And I started reading it at 8 and loved it, completely loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had, Mossflower, Madame Mayo, and the original Redwall in paperback. So, and then we moved back to America, and it was a lot easier to find books like that. Whereas in Germany, like, we bought what was available at the PX because anything else back in those days would have been a huge burden to get there. Everything had to be mail ordered. You had to get the catalog. Like, even with APO shipping, it was going to be a nightmare. And so that was how I found out about it. It was just my brother read it. I don't think he really connected with it as much. I think he enjoyed it. He liked the Neverending Story and stuff like that, which, he was way better at German than me. He actually, by the time we left, he was in the first year of like German high school, because they split it into like basically middle school is the first half of high school, and then the second half is later. And they have a 13th grade in Germany as well. And so he was in the first year of like lower form high school. His German was phenomenal. And he was reading, he read Michael Ende's the Neverending Story in German. So he was into that stuff. Yeah, he was completely fluent in German. I wasn't quite there, but I was a little kid. I would have been. If we had stayed one more year, I absolutely would have been. Because I have sometimes encountered going through stuff at my parents' house, like my old school workbooks, and I don't understand. Fuck, I was writing the shit out of it. I don't understand. It's also, they had a really strict kind of like style of handwriting that you had, like cursive writing that you had to do. And so I can't, because I don't recognize the words, like the cursive makes it harder. But yeah, like my brother was really good at German. I think he liked the Redwall books, but I think he got to an age where he was also starting to read like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, whereas like 8, almost 9 is, if you're a kid who likes reading books, perfect age for Redwall, man. Absolutely perfect age.
It's good. It's a great chapter book that, is a good book for kids transition.
Yeah,
into.
It's not too violent. It's not too gory. It's scary, but it's not horribly scary. It's got tension. There's characters you like. There's characters you don't like. It kind of introduces you to the concept of world building. Yeah, it was great.
Every book is exactly like every other book. They just kind of swap out the species, the characters. I recently read Rackety Tam, which is about a Scottish squirrel from the Northern Highlands and his buddy, who's very Scottish. Go ahead. I see you.
I was just thinking about the fact that people will be like, "Oh, you like this book about anthropomorphic animals going on quests? You should read Watership Down." It's like, Yeah, I mean,
I would think these days it's just like, oh, what's your fursona? 'Cause
I'm not, never have been. And it's funny that you think about, like, we've made the joke that so many of us, like boys who read, and girls too, but mostly boys who read Redwall books wound up joining the military.
Joining the military or becoming furries. Which way, Western boy, do you want to go here?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, it's just, no, fursuit shit never appealed to me. And that's not like a value judgment. It's just, I mean, I talk about dumb stuff that, like, for people who don't care about the music stuff and specifically the equipment stuff that I care about, like, I must sound like a complete raving lunatic, but that's just, you're into the thing you're into. And for me, it's old analog synthesizers and, hardware recording equipment and just music in general,
Yeah, I do like anthropomorphic animals as art. I do like a fox wearing a cool jacket, but like it's about as far as it goes.
Joe Camel was just designed for your ass.
Bro, I smoked camels like you wouldn't believe that. I pin Joe Camel 100% on, like, because Joe Camel hung out in the bars I like to hang out to, like those seedy dark bars that you shoot pool and have a little neon going on.
Joe Camel also hung out at his cool ass apartment with his sick ass huge stereo blasting tunes, and he was wearing his sunglasses indoors for some reason and smoking in bed, the thing that kills you.
He was always on a beach. It was always nighttime. Joe Camel was never out during the day. It was only nights. Havana Nights. Joe Camel.
There was look, interpret it how you want. I don't necessarily know if it's wrong or right, but there is the analysis that says that Joe Camel was designed also so that his nose and mouth camel face reminded you of a dick. Sure. The idea being that, like, it was supposed to be subtle enough to just kind of connote some notion of virility. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But to me, I wasn't like, damn, that looks like a dick. What I was thinking was more like, oh, he's cool as fuck. He's doing cool things that I want to do. Yeah. And I need to smoke camels. I mean, look, man, I quit smoking. Life stress, sick child stuff recently has actually made me miss smoking. I mean, confession to the show.
Break.
I did actually smoke not that long ago, but I haven't like been craving it, been like, oh, I'm gonna relapse. It's just that when my daughter was in the hospital, there was one night when Cynthia was doing overnight and I had been a really long day and I came home and I was like, they sell alcohol at the gas station, right? Because everything else is closed. And the thought crossed my mind, I was like, no. If I go there and I buy a bottle of wine or a beer, I'm going to buy a pack of cigarettes. I'm going to smoke like 12 of them tonight. I'm just not doing it. And I just, instead of going across the street, I went into our apartment building instead. Because that thought crossed my mind for a second, like, ugh. And I probably would have gotten Camels or Marlboros, I guess. I used to smoke those Camel wide lights. The Cadillac of cigarettes, as we called them. Yeah. Those were good. But I mean, cigarettes, it always comes with a cost. And at my age, I don't need any more costs.
No, I probably smoked a cigarette the last time I smoked. My wife was probably listening to this. It's been years, but I remember the last time I smoked a cigarette and taking like 3 drags off of it and going, oh, no, this is not for me anymore. And it's weird because you have that, because when you are a former smoker and you like walk by a bar that used to have people smoke or people still smoke inside of it, and there's a nostalgia. They're smelling that the smell of a bar and grease and cigarettes just really brings back a lot of a lot of really great scent, smell memory. But like at the age of 42, I smell that and I'm like, oh, good, and my lungs are like, no, man, don't do it. You're not going to enjoy this.
It's funny because we live on the second floor and there's like a terrace out front and there's cafes and also just like people, because we're near this mall, people on their breaks come out and smoke outside. When I have the windows open, the balcony and the kitchen windows, like we get cigarette smoke in the house, and it actually doesn't make me miss it at all. I know exactly what you're talking about because that has happened to me. Yeah,
there are times.
But for me, it's that when it's invading my house, I'm like, man, fucking come on. And I think as a former smoker, you notice the smell of cigarettes way more. It's not to say that people who don't smoke or didn't smoke wouldn't also, but I think there's a level of like instant familiarity that you get, and it's not, I'm like, oh, I'm angry because it's making me want to smoke. It's more like, I just don't want my house to smell like cigarettes. And I would say, I do know exactly what you're describing. There's also the counterpoint to this. When I lived in France, when I was 20, my roommate and I smoked, and we were allowed to smoke in the apartment we were in. So we just opened the windows, but getting laundry done was really expensive. And so we realized pretty quickly that like going to the laundromat cost a lot. And one time I was like, we're college students, we didn't have a ton of money. I bought a box of laundry soap and we filled the bathtub with water and we hand washed our clothes, which is probably not great, but it saved us money, a lot of money. Cause it was like €4 for a box of this laundry soap, as opposed to like, would have been like, going to the laundromat would have been, it was probably about that much for one load of laundry, both washing and drying in 2005. However, we smoked and we air dried our clothes in the room that we smoked in.
Ooh.
And that your clothes were wet and got cigarette smoke on them smell.
Ooh.
That I was like, oh, this is kind of gross. I don't like this. And periodically you will encounter that smell in the wild, especially on rainy days, people who smoke so much it's in their clothes. And I hate it so much. And Cynthia told me, because she grew up around a lot of smokers, she's like, that's what my clothes smelled like as a kid. I hate it even more than you do. She's like, I can't to me, it's like, it's just so repulsive. And so, yeah, it's weird. On one hand, I know exactly what you mean about the, like, you walk past a bar or, you know, you're out on a night doing something. Like, I don't really drink that much anymore, but even if like you haven't, but you're like having fun doing stuff, you're out being social and you smell a cigarette, you're just like, yeah, that's pretty nice. I wish I had a smoke right now. But then also there's the flip side of that, which is that, like, I think I get also the kind of grossness smell of it bothers me. And then it's just like, I mean, look, having admittedly recently fallen off a little bit about it. Nah, I'll give you an update on something where I really can't fall off about it anymore. It just, man, it makes you cough after. It gives you a gross taste. If you're having any drinks, it makes the hangovers worse. Like, yeah, I just don't. I can't do it. The thing I was going to update you on is they think I have adult onset asthma.
Oh, no.
From, living in, burn pits in Afghanistan and Honduras, and then living in Seoul, a very polluted city, and then living in New York for 4 years, a very polluted city, and then living in London for 6 years, a city with probably the worst air quality in Europe, where adult onset asthma is really common. Because my daughter kept getting sick, but she recovered super fast, coming back with germs from daycare, and I got sicker and sicker and sicker, and it was really getting bad. And I went to the doctor, and they checked me out, and the doctor was like, your sinuses are really irritated, and it's draining, and it's causing you to cough, but your lungs are not obstructed, and there's not a lung infection. Like, to me, this feels like you're just dealing with regular cold symptoms, maybe a couple of different colds at once because of different viruses, but have you ever been checked out for asthma? And I told her about the thing that happened 3 years ago and the constant persistent cough, and then it only went away when they gave me an inhaler, and she prescribed me a steroid inhaler. I have to use it until the end of this week, and I'm not coughing or wheezing at all. If I wake up in the morning, I'll cough a little, I use it, goes away, and then I use it at night before bed, goes away. Like, it was like night and day, which is not to say that I think I'm going to need to be on asthma stuff forever or like constantly. We'll find out. But when she said that, I was like, I mean, the stats kind of point that way, you know? And thankfully, I mean, it sucks. I feel bad for that my wife has dealt with asthma her entire life, but she has. And so she knows symptoms, and she said, I kind of thought that's what it might be. And she also knows how, like, what to do and also what to look out for, like stuff that can be triggering. So yeah, I didn't immediately get sick after coming back from the trip where I did in fact smoke a little, but now it's just like, yeah, I mean, plenty of people with asthma smoke, bad idea. So just not going to do it.
It's addictive. That's for sure. Yeah. I'm just glad that it's not. I'm glad I'm at a point now where, like, cigarettes are just gross. And I don't understand why people smoke them. It's like, go get a vape. Like, I understand it's not the same, but, like, good Lord.
I mean, living in Europe, man, like, people vape, but people also smoke a lot. And
yeah, people, I do notice that, especially in Missouri, man, people still love a cigarette because you can still get a pack of cigarettes for under $6. Like Rust Belt,
like Great Lakes, you know, Upper South area, like, lots of people smoke. Like, people still smoke everywhere in America, but one of the things about New York is that, like, you can't smoke in venues, in businesses, in restaurants and bars, and cigarettes are insanely expensive. And so I do think there is a kind of dissuasive effect. You know what I mean? Like, it just makes people do it less, or like, I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing, because, like, in the sense that it's tough.
I know. No, I get it.
There's the nudge theory thing about make it harder and more expensive, but also it's like, yeah, but then it also just means that people who don't have a lot of money spend more of their disposable income on cigarettes. I think you also have an industry that it's legal for them to push the shit that we know it's fucking bad. But, you know, it's like, it's complicated. I'm not saying it's like the solution is free for all or ban everything or whatever. It's just more like, I know that living in the South, a lot more people smoked. And like you were saying, I don't know what it's like now, but I can recall being shocked visiting Fayetteville in 2015, and packs of cigarettes were advertised at gas stations like $5-6 maybe. I think in some cases like $4 for a pack, and in New York it was like $12, $15, $16. It was like Australia prices. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things that
paid $1 a pack in Afghanistan.
We paid $3
that's the real thing. When you go to,
we paid $3 for a carton. We sent the interpreter down to the bazaar and got Pine Lights, got $3 for a carton, man. Though they weren't good. I mean, they weren't bad. They're Korean cigarettes, but by the time they'd gotten to, you know, Sharana, Afghanistan, they were just kind of stale. That's all.
Pine Lights and 88 miles, baby.
Well, I was thinking about this recently being in Korea. Someone was sharing, there's this brand of Korean cigarette called This Plus, and it's like a sepia kind of tan paper cover with a line art illustration of like a whale. And this wasn't the case before, but now they've added a little tattoo style banner underneath it that says the sea hates a coward. And people are like, these are the coolest cigarettes I've ever seen. I was like, those were my cigarette. I used to smoke that shit all the time. But they didn't have the cool banner, unfortunately. I would have remembered that. They added it to make it look even more badass. So Korean cigarettes are actually good. It's just that, cigarette smoking's bad for you.
Yeah, shouldn't be doing it anyway. Yeah, glad that we put that one behind us. I also, like you said, I don't really drink that much anymore because I don't know, beer does terrible things to the insides of my body, especially like a light yeasty beer. It's just it's terrible. That's why weed is great now, because weed doesn't do any of that stuff to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. The last time that I had a beer was in it was probably over the summer, just hanging out with people where that was what people were ordering. But normally, like the last time I bought beer for the house, like I've lived in Switzerland for a year and some change now, and I've never had a Feldschlösschen, the kind of like big brand here. I just don't care. I mean, wine's great. I like wine periodically, but my parents, when they were here, they drank wine with dinner, and I would have it. And I felt like once they left and I wasn't having a glass of wine every night, I think like mentally and physically, I just felt better. It's not to say that I'm like, oh, it's good. It's a thing I must quit. It's horrible for me, but it's just more like, I think you have a bit of like a energy and health heat shield when you're young, and it really wears the fuck off when you get older. And then any little thing, it's been burned up by time and bad decisions you've made. And so,
yeah, look, I definitely feel that, especially like I was in Orlando, I was at Universal, and, walking miles and miles on concrete because you're at an amusement park. And at the end of the day, being like, my feet did not used to feel like this when I would do this shit back in the Army. And I don't like it, Nate. I don't like feel like I'm at a point I can look at myself in the mirror and I'd be like, I look pretty good for 42. You look pretty good for 39, 40.
I'm going to be 41 in like 3 days. So yeah.
Okay. You look good for two dudes in their early 40s who spent a lot of time in the Army. We didn't get our shit, beat up too bad.
No. I feel actually happier about how I look now than I have in a very long time.
Right. I weighed myself. I am at a weight that I have not been at since I was 18.
Congrats. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Like when I retired from the Army, and like I already had my weed card and everything. It was back in 2020. I retired from the Army and immediately lost like 10 pounds within the first 2 months because I no longer drank.
Yeah.
And certainly I just replaced it with something else, but I replaced it with something that wasn't, making me creep close to 200 pounds for a 5'10" guy, which is not a place, not a good, healthy place. I was always struggling to meet my height weight requirements. And now it's like, well, I also stopped taking my Wellbutrin. So that made me stop eating for a little bit, just as my brain recalibrated itself. I guess I'm just lucky that like food has never been one of my vices. Like I will certainly, like, if I forget to eat, I will just continue to forget to eat until my body feels like it's starting to shut down. Yeah. And I say, oh, I need to take an hour break here.
I used to have it more so as a kid. I'd forget to eat and I'd get really bad headaches. I don't know, my weight limit in the Army was 195. I'm 6 feet. I'm 6 feet tall, and I never. The only times I ever was over it was when I was in the Special Forces course, and like I would say close to 80% of the guys in my class were over the weight limit because we were all in really good shape, and the instructors knew it. And so rather than tape, 120 guys, they had us, everyone who had been over on weight, they just like take your PT top off and stand in the hallway, and they came walking and looked at our body makeup and it was like, get out of here, go. Yeah. You're all fine. It's just, it's because it's this objective height can't be higher than this, this weight can't be higher if you're at this height. I'm probably about that. I think I'm a little under 200. I haven't weighed myself in forever because I feel like for me, it's more to do with how do my clothes fit? How do I feel?
Yeah. How do you feel?
And I haven't really been able to work out that much. And some of that's my own, call it dysfunction, but I take my daughter to daycare every day and I walk and some days also I'm the one who picks her up. So I'm walking like at least 2 miles a day in general, and then getting out of the house every day, which is great. I think I never had a food problem, but I did have a hole yourself up in your house and not leave problem. And that can sometimes, But I would say less stressed, feel like it's easier to sleep better. I changed medication, so I'm not on Vyvanse anymore. I'm on Concerta, which is kind of like long release Ritalin, but it doesn't have the sort of Super Mario invincibility star effect when it kicks in, but it also doesn't fuck my sleep up, because I think over the 2 years that I was on Elvance or Vyvanse, it created this cumulative sleep deficit for me. And I just felt once I got off it and got on a different medication, man, I had so much built up fatigue. And eventually, I started sleeping better. Now it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And I've been actually getting restful sleep. Whereas on Elvance, like it did make me feel like I was, throwing Super Mario fireballs out of my hands. But I also was kind of flailing on stuff. Like I would hyper focus on stuff that didn't matter. And man, that cumulative fatigue was a problem. And so some of that may have been the dosing. I don't know. They put me on a not quite the highest dose, but high enough. And I definitely lost weight from that because of the fact that I was not eating that much. But it's funny because like if you lose weight because you're eating better and even if you're not really exercising a ton, you're not like working out, but you're active. I feel like if you lose weight that way and you lose weight from a medication that makes you not eat, but also like stresses you out and makes you a little bit manic, it doesn't look the same, which is not to say that like objectively like that, like, the aesthetic judgment is the thing that matters, but I still look haggard as fuck. Even if I was, trending towards being skinny, I still looked haggard as fuck. And now I don't feel that way. And I don't know, I just started some male life lessons, just asking my wife for advice on things, be like, you're way better at sort of, a lot about hair care. And you always said that my hair being curly looks better than any other cut. What should I do? And she's not looking great today because I haven't put anything in it, but like, she gave me some advice and I was like, this does look good. This genuinely does. I'm really happy. Like I don't hate the way I look. It's amazing. And then she recently went to a thing, they were doing like a liquidation sale near her work. And she was like, I'm just going to pick out some things that look like they fit. And it is funny to me because she got me some stuff. And I'm like, there's no way this is going to fit. These are US brands like Lee and Wrangler, but like that's a size medium. Oh, brother, they fit like fucking gym clothes. It's perfect. Which is not to say that I'm like, svelte now. I mean, I'm still, the same build. I'm probably close. Maybe I'm lighter than when you saw me, but not necessarily like massively so. Right. But I do think there's something to be said for like, yeah, because you're sleeping better and you're not drinking alcohol and you're not eating a ton of junk food and you're exercising every day. You're getting out of the house every day. You're going for walks. I have to walk everywhere to run errands. I have to walk, to buy groceries. I'm cooking. We basically don't eat out because it's so expensive. And that has made a huge difference overall, like shockingly good. So if you got someone in your life that you love and trust and you're maybe on the fence about it, maybe just ask them, because I bet you if they feel like the question's being asked, and you're a place to receive the information that you want, they'll give you good advice. And, every now and again as a man, if you let somebody actually love you, weird, great things can happen. It's amazing. Shocking. You don't have to hate yourself. I'm just saying. Yeah, I went to the hair salon that my wife and daughter goes to because I've always been a Great Clips kind of person. And for those of you who don't know, Great Clips is just like the national brand where you can, as a hairstylist, you can go work there. You get a chair and you can do hairstyling. But I went to somebody who actually owns their own salon and paid, a little bit more than I would have, but not that much to get like a haircut by somebody who, one, knows me, like somebody who, Melanie used to be our neighbor and she knows my wife and kid because they go to her all the time. And two, somebody who's just like, what do you want to do? Because like when I got out of the army, I didn't know what the hell to do with my hair because I still had so much of it. And I'd spent the last 20 years just buzzing it down or getting it, cut it down and put a 2 on the sides and blend it. So I actually went to somebody and I said, look, I have all this hair. I've been kind of growing it out. I don't really know what to do with it. What are your suggestions? And she's like, yeah, let's try this. Let's do this. We can slick it back. We can do clean up the sides and the back. And she, did a lot of really great stuff. And, shout out to the wives who are just like, would you go to like a normal place, please? And stop going to this like dirt cheap place where you come back, like half the time you come back and your head looks all fucked up. Why don't you go to somebody, pay a little bit extra and come back with a hairstyle that makes sense? So, and look, sometimes it takes a while for me to be able to listen to that, but I eventually get there. I had to get a haircut and my normal barber was on vacation. So I went to the place downstairs and they did fine, but got a little closer to broccoli cut than I wanted, but it was still fine. It was no big deal. I need to get a haircut pretty soon and I'm going to go, our temporary place was across the street from a salon. I booked an appointment. I wound up the barber there. She's great. She's really cool. She's definitely a bit younger than me. She's from here. Her partner and her live on the French side. She comes into work and she's really awesome. And like, she was a barber in London at one point. She was a barber in Melbourne, Australia at one point. We actually speak French because, I mean, I told her, I was like, if you want to speak English, I'm happy to. It's good for me to practice French. But at this point, my French it's weird. Like I recently have reached a point where it's a new kind of frontier in that people don't necessarily perceive right off the bat that I'm a non-native speaker, which is not to say that my accent is perfect. It's just, there's a lot of people here that are from wherever, but they might be from Francophone countries, but they just have accents. They might also be bilingual in their first language, but they've been speaking French their whole life, which is cool. It's an accomplishment, but that also means that people talk to me like the way you and I are talking to each other right now in English, right? And sometimes I'm like, man, what the fuck did you just say? Like, just... So that's cool. But so, but talking about hair, like, it's interesting for me because I don't know. Cynthia and I were talking about this, about like a generational shift, about stuff like cosmetic surgery and how like that was seen as a really kind of shameful thing a long time ago. The thing like you had to hide, like Joe Biden got hair plugs and that was the thing they made fun of. And now it seems like a lot more common, like men get stuff, whether, and also people realizing too, I think that plastic surgery.
I mean, you did.
I've had 2 hair transplants actually, and I was going to tell those stories. I mean, like, I'm not like ashamed of that.
No, I know. It's I've never said it. I've
never talked about it on the show. But yeah. I've had 2 hair.
Sorry, I didn't mean to out you there.
No, it's fine. I thought about it. I was like, it would be interesting to talk about. So why did I get hair transplants? Well, I started going bald in the Army, and the way it manifested was I always had I've got a big forehead. I've got a high hairline. And
you got the widow's peak.
I had the widow's peak. And you can see it, great audio medium when we're pulling back our hair. Yeah. And it started to, I didn't really notice it getting more advanced because I'd kind of always been there. I remember when I used to shave my head for high school swimming and I would see it and it didn't seem like it had changed. And then when I had to shave my head for the tactical portion of the Special Forces course, what they call Small Unit Tactics or SUT, that was where I left the course. That was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I came home and I remember being like, whoa, when you see with my head completely shaved, my hairline has really receded. And I didn't realize, I thought, okay, maybe I'll start using minoxidil, like topical minoxidil, but people have mixed results with that around like, say, your temples. It's more for like the crown. It didn't really seem to make a difference to any large extent. And then I got out of the Army and I was living in Korea with my girlfriend at the time. And I noticed like the back of my head, like it was starting to thin there too. And I wasn't sure what to do about it. I was like, I don't really want to be on the meds because like people have told me horror stories about it. And she was like, you've had to have your hair in a way you didn't want to have it since you were 18. And now you're finally free and you can have your hair however you want. And you're going to be self-conscious again now because instead of having stupid Army hair, you have to have your hair cut in a way that doesn't like highlight and accentuate the fact that you're balding. And it's like hair transplants are massive. All cosmetic surgery is massive increase. Like you just do it. If you do it now, you just won't worry about it anymore. And it's like, she's like, why? It's like just about every man does it now. Like every man under 50 seems to do it if they go bald in Korea. Like it's way better than having to take meds that can potentially have like, I mean, not everyone has the side effects, but finasteride, some men have pretty bad side effects on it, like specifically sexual side effects. And I was a little bit concerned about, I mean, part of me was like, I'll just shave my fucking head if I would rather that than not. Yeah,
I'll be bald and fuck.
Than not have a sex life. No, I looked very young at the time. So like having a shaved head looked pretty weird. So I had that in 2015 and it was great. But I realize now the aftercare, I mean, it was painful, but it was fine. They did a really good job. The aftercare wasn't as advanced back then. I kind of wish I'd known more about what you're supposed to do afterwards. But what happened is over the years, it advanced. And so it wasn't that I was like, oh, it all fell out. No, the stuff that was transplanted stayed. It was great. I did a strip harvest one for the one in Korea and my hair is really thick. So they implanted a ton. But what happened is obviously it was filling in stuff. I mean, the surgeon even said, he's like, you're almost 30. I typically don't do hair transplants on men under 30 because sometimes if we don't have a real handle on what kind of balding you're experiencing, when it continues to progress, it might look patchy. And so that is kind of what happened. I mean, it just advanced to the point where like it still looked thin at the temples and it still looked thin on the back because realistically speaking, I probably would have looked like my dad, which is to say a little tiny little bit around the top and then completely bald in the back.
A little wispy.
Yeah. And then completely bald in the back. And so I thought about it and then I came to the decision that it's a funny story. I did a show with Trash Future in Berlin. And a fan came up to me and said, was talking to us. And he was like, Nate, I just want to thank you for representing balding guy excellence. And I was just like, don't fucking say that to me. Don't fucking say that to me. Come on. And I walked out of that venue.
Thanks for being the ugly guy up there for the rest of the ugly guys.
And I said to them, I'm getting a fucking hair transplant. Fuck this shit, man. I can afford it. So I got one in London and I got a unit extraction this time, which they do have to shave your head. And the funny thing is I did it. I had the embarrassing cab ride from Harley Street back to my apartment where you come out with fucking the nightmare haircut and the bandages and shit. And certainly wasn't going to take the bus home. Fuck me. I mean, it was painful. And I took a photo to send to Cynthia and be like, hey, look. And I realized I looked at the photo. I'm like, no, I look great bald, man. I look great bald now. With the facial hair, I look great bald. Like maybe this is unnecessary, but I've done it. So there it is. Yeah. But it's just like, it can be very difficult, I think, if you were like me, if you're a young person and also you look young, like you don't look like, you still look kind of youthful in the sense of like I didn't have a lot of facial hair. My facial expression was kind of like, I didn't have like, you know, unless I was doing some kind of army starvation bullshit, I didn't have like particularly defined cheekbones or anything like that. And so I felt really uncomfortable with the way I looked. And I've got a lot of trans friends now. And I made the comment that getting a hair transplant at, 38 was like, cis guy gender confirmation surgery. But it was, the recovery was pretty uncomfortable. My face swelled a lot more than it did. Like I didn't have any of these side effects when I had the strip harvest, but they gave me a bunch of aftercare things that worked really well. And in the end, when it did finally grow in, it was night and day. And it's not necessarily that I'm like, everyone must do this. Some people don't care. Some people aren't bothered. Some people just like, fuck it, I'll shave my head. It really is up to you because like there are people who are bothered. I wasn't always bothered, but I think there were times when I was just sort of like, man, if I had had a time in my life when I had been able to have my hair however I wanted it before I lost it, I probably would have thought differently. I would have felt differently. I wouldn't have minded. It's not that I'm like so massively self-conscious that it was the thing that I was concerned about all the time. But I think having to have very, very, very unflattering army hair, basically from being like, one summer when I studied abroad in 2005, I went to airborne school, got a high and tight, and then I did not cut my hair the whole rest of the summer. And when I got back, I had a haircut that was kind of a messier version of what I've got now. And brother, people were fucking loving it. I got so much more interest from both sexes than I had ever gotten in my life. And then I immediately started the third year of ROTC and had to get a fucking crew cut again, And so to me, it was like, maybe it's that. Maybe it's like for personal reasons, I just didn't want to look like my dad. Maybe it's just the fact that like it felt as though it went from, like I said, not really, it's not that it's like, oh, being balding or bald is a horrible thing. It's not. I mean, like there's so many people who pull it, so many men who pull it off and look incredible. It's just more for me that it was a matter of if I wanted to shave my head, I would have. But like if that's the only hairstyle that feels like it's not going to look like, I don't know, it's not going to like make me feel self-conscious about my appearance. Because to be honest with you, now that I'm in slightly better shape and I've got my hair, it's like, I don't dress provocatively, but I feel a little more comfortable not dressing like ultra normcore. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I feel
put on some nice clothes. You're like, look, I have when you look in the mirror and you're like, okay, I have nice hair. What can I do to
and I like dressing in a way now where it's like not necessarily like trying to be, outre or like mega provocative or anything, or even like super fashionable, but I want my clothes to fit. I want to look like, like I'm well dressed.
You and I both grew up probably in that same kind of sphere of caring about your looks as gay, and especially caring about your hair and caring about your face is metrosexual, if anybody remembers that word.
For clarity for people who might be new listeners or have forgotten this, I am a bisexual man. I am attracted to men and women. However, I have had to disengage so much internalized sentiment around that, not because I didn't like the fact, like I was ashamed of the fact that I wasn't completely heterosexual, but more because where Francis and I are from is a place where if you in any way are perceived as like caring about your appearance or like in any way perceived as effeminate or anything that's like a stereotypical sort of, like you said, metrosexual or gay thing, you get bullied, you get shit. People are rude to you. People do fucked up things. Like I got called gay by the dude I was paying my fucking rent payment to when I was in college. I walked in and the guy looked at me. He's like, they were asking a question about some party they were trying to promote. And he was like, do you like the ladies? I was like, I was wearing a sweater. That's why. Because wearing a fucking sweater. I was like, yeah.
Well, maybe he's just,
No.
Hey, look,
no. He wanted to ask about the thing. He wanted to ask about this party about like, we're going to try to think all these girls are going to be. He's like, but do you like ladies? And I was like, yeah, man. And he was like, cool. Yeah, we got this party on. He's like, his partner next to him, the guy that was the other business partner, was like, nah, I'm not sure, man. He looks like a guy. And I was like, how the fuck are you going to ask me to fucking promote your goddamn party? And you're like, also you're gay.
Right. Also, the gays make it a good party.
Well, right. Exactly. The music will be good. The drinks will be strong.
The music will be good. The dancing will be good. Everybody will have good hair. Like, what are you afraid of?
What was the thing about, there was an Onion article about this, about like, if I were gay, I would do all these things like practice self-care and have emotional conversations with my friends and dress well and have better grooming and just going down this list. Like, and at the end, it's like, well, good thing I'm straight though.
Yeah.
No, man. I mean, like that the internalized homophobia that you get from that environment, not just like it's not a self-hatred thing. It's a self-preservation instinct. Like somebody called me the F slur and threw a car hubcap at me when I was 12 for wearing a bike helmet. You know, like, bro, like
the 90s were fucking wild,
America,
you were,
Indiana. Yeah. Like they were bullying Ryan White. He got HIV from a blood transfusion. Like he wasn't gay and they were fucking like, it was so, and so like that being what you grew up with. I made the joke one time about this that like, I'm like, yeah, I've transcended this. I've moved beyond it. I'm completely unbothered. And it's like, then 10 seconds later, my wife is like, hey, do you mind holding my suitcase for me? And it's pink. And I'm like, oh God, fuck, shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a thing and so I think to an extent, it's like the cosmetic surgery thing. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea for people to decide that they want to do a massive, huge amount of stuff and presume that that's going to fix every problem in your life. And obviously it's expensive. It's a thing of, kind of a statement of privilege. Like obviously living in Europe, there's lots of places you can go where it's inexpensive, relatively speaking, and still very high quality to do some of this stuff. But I will say that like my advice, because we love giving advice to the fellas and to the not fellas, is that if there's a thing that something that's bothered you about your appearance and there's the thing that would make it so that it's possible to not worry about that, it's probably worth considering if it's not a huge encumbrance on you, because it will actually make a difference. But the point isn't you need to go to a surgeon or get a hair transplant to like love yourself. It's more that you have to ask yourself the question, like, what is it about your appearance or whatever the issue is that's bothering you? What is it that causes you to be self-conscious? And if fixing that will make you feel better, then it's worth considering. I'm not saying you must do it. In my case, it wasn't just that. There were a million other things. But it is nice, I suppose, not necessarily like, oh, I'm fucking looking fly as hell. Because I mean, look, come on, man, I got crow's feet for days. Come on, I'm almost 41.
Yeah, and also we're both married
and we have kids. I'm not out trying to like, yeah, exactly. But what I am saying though is that there's an extent to which you just have to remember that the things that make you self-conscious aren't necessarily going to be fixed if you take away that one thing. But it might help. That's one thing. The other point is, the overall umbrella lesson here is that like you have to find stuff about yourself that you like. You have to find something about yourself that you like. You have to accept that there's certain things you might not be and things you are. Some of those can be changed, some of them can't be. But like in the end, another side of Midwest bullshit that you have to kind of disabuse yourself of is this idea that like you should be stoic to the point of just hating yourself.
Yeah, don't do that, guys.
No, because that doesn't do anything for you and it doesn't do anything for any of the people around you. It just makes you hate yourself and makes you miserable. And you try to repress it. You try to transmute it into something else. It's still going to come out. It's still going to be there, And so to me, it's like, it's not that I was like, oh, I wished I had fly hair when I was young and now I hate myself. It's more just like, there was this sense of like, I hate looking in the fucking mirror. And the people who encouraged me the most were my trans friends, honestly, because they were like, that rings a bell. And obviously, like in the days when getting a hair transplant in Britain was like 50,000 pounds, that's insane. No, of course not. But it's nowhere near as expensive. And you don't have to fly to fucking Turkey and potentially get like a fly-by-night thing that sucks. You know what I mean? And so I did it. And I'm really happy I did it. And I still have another generational thing of being like, oh, if you admit it, then like the British tabloids are going to make fun of you like they did to Wayne Rooney. But no, man, I'm happy I did it. And I feel like if some people might want to, and if you do, then cool. And if other shit works for you, cool. And if you don't care, cool, that's cool too. So that was was my take.
Make changes for you, not for other
That's
people.
A really good point.
Like, when you look in the mirror, because, like I said, I look in the mirror and I'm like, all right, I'm looking pretty good. But like also a large chunk of my clothes come from Costco. And, when Costco is one of our big box warehouse stores here. And you guys don't see it in my pod shack. This is where I spend most of my days. So like, I don't need great clothes, but I do like to have nice clothes. And when my wife and I are going out to dinner, I like to put nice things on because it is just a like, hey, this is a statement that this is not just me scratching my ass in my pod shack while I send emails at work. This is something, I'm transitioning to something. I'm going to look nice. We're going to go out. And, that's as much for my wife as it is for myself, just because I want to look good and I want to go out and, just feel like I can be a part of society and not look like some fucking goblin. So that's really what all of this comes down to. It's never, if you're like, I'm going to make these changes because I want to get laid, it's not going to do anything for you. You got to make the changes so that you feel comfortable and you feel confident. Then you can go out and possibly get laid.
I mean,
there you go.
But also, really quickly to not derail, because we're going to get ready to end this episode.
Yeah, we got to wrap up.
I'll give you a quick little object lesson. I, at one point, was doing pretty poorly in during COVID 2, in fucking 2021. And I started therapy again. And I talked about some stuff that was really this feeling of being constantly surrounded by things that reminded me of shit that I hadn't gotten done and needed to get done. It was just this constant kind of panic feeling of like, but I need to X and I won't. And it's just piling up everywhere. And I mentioned the thing that annoyed me was that like the stupid planters out front of our house, they're just weed magnets. They're falling apart, but I can't move them because they're like plastic, fake terracotta, huge things with like probably weigh 200-300 pounds. Well, not quite that much, but they're heavy. And my therapist was like, I would say pick one thing. Try this, pick one thing and you say, this is a thing, I'm just going to do it. Like how, like give it a try, give it 10 minutes and see if you can make any progress. And I pulled out I can't remember what it's called anymore, but there's a check a trade guide is a thing in Britain. And I saw removals and I called a removals company and the guy was like, yeah, I can be there in an hour. He showed up and I helped him it was like getting my squats in, lift those things up and they were gone in an hour. They had bothered me for 2 years at that point. Mm-hmm. It was like, wait,
I can affect change.
Easy? Not always, but, and that was like a breakthrough. It was genuinely a breakthrough moment for me. Everything felt like a huge muscle movement, and sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes another thing my therapist said is like, if you feel bad about not getting stuff done creatively or like organizationally, admin, work, you've got to do life maintenance, just set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes and be like, I will start. And then when the ring rings, I'll stop. And you will be amazed. Yeah. So that's, those things. Like Francis was talking about changes. Like sometimes it can be hard, but sometimes it's just kind of like getting out of a rut long enough for the new way you're doing it to feel normal. And then it actually sticks.
Yeah. So as soon as you do step one, and I always say about working out, the hardest part of a workout is putting the workout clothes on. Because once they're on, it's like, well, now I got to work out. I put on the shorts, I put on the top, I put on the running shoes. I guess I'm going to go run. Yeah. As soon as you've done step one, and it's like, well, now I have to do step two. And then suddenly you find yourself walking through the steps and then the planter's gone. And you're like, oh, cool. Yeah.
And that was like, I decided that when Milo pitched this idea of us doing a live music performance for Cloghead stuff. And I was like, yes, let's do it. And we had to rehearse a ton, but we did it. I said, we should tour Australia. And we did it. You know, I said to Cynthia, like once she got this job, I was like, at this point, if this is the job you want to keep, like I'd like for us to start trying to have a kid. And I feel like we're in a good place to do it. And then we did, and we have our daughter now. Yeah. Like so many of the things that were big time felt intractable back then have improved. And it really was literally, it was that step. It was that step of I called somebody to start therapy. It worked out. He mentioned this, and I called the fucking guy, a Romanian guy, just whipping work in this huge flatbed truck down our tiny ass dead end row where we lived on, managed to get this flatbed, and we got those things out of there, and I never saw those pieces of shit again. And you know what? Hell yeah.
You're happier. You're happier.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works. So that's our lesson.
Get the hair transplants and get rid of the the hair
transplant is really it's a thing if it matters to you. If it matters to you and it's a thing that you think will actually make a difference, like, and it's not like a thing where the cost of it is going to be an enormous debilitating thing, because obviously I do realize that like it is a statement of privilege to be able to be like, I was able to spend this money. Like, I don't know, spent years not doing anything because fucking we were locked down and shit. So, you know, I had a little bit of savings. I'll regret it when I see my Swiss grocery bill, but that's life.
The American grocery bill's no better. Nate, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for listening. As always, we have more stuff on our Patreon, patreon.com/hellofaWayToDie. Lots of exclusive videos, giveaways. Nate's going to have some music episodes going up pretty soon. So we've got a lot of content out there for you. Of course, we will always bring you an episode a week for free, and we appreciate you for listening. Tell your friends, tell everybody about the two dads that love to talk about hair transplants.
Among other things.
Among other things.
Well, I'm going to get your ass on something too. I'm going to get you to like subtly reveal a thing, and then I'm just going to start razzing you for it like we're back in fucking the greater Midwest.
Yeah, the problem is I already admitted I'm furry adjacent, but you can't say shit because you are too.
Yeah, you're also, hey, how the fuck am I furry? Oh, Redwall.
Yeah, the Redwall.
Disney adult, and I never talk shit about that. I never talk. Oh, you want me to? Oh, okay. All right. Next week. I'll come prepared.
I'll give you, brother. I will agree with every, like, Walt Disney was a piece of shit. I'll probably agree with you on that, but I love logistics inside of a park, man. I love an amusement park.
Guy who becomes a Disney adult because he likes seeing a well-run theme park.
Yeah. Yes. Look, they built the Magic Kingdom on top of a system of tunnels. When I went to Disney World for the first time, I was amazed by how much I saw the trash being taken out, how much I saw the bathrooms being cleaned, how things move but you don't see them because everything moves behind. Like, I did a behind the scenes tour because I was so into how the logistics of running a massive theme park like this works. Yeah, I'm that fucking nerd. Don't worry. Like, I'm a Disney adult parentheses logistics.
Oh my God. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to think on it then, and I'm going to come up with other ways about that next week to roast her ass for it. That might be, we'll see. All right. Anyway.
All right, y'all. We will talk to you next week. Appreciate you listening.
Have a good one.